Hey, this is Notser, and today we're taking a look at the Tier 6 Soviet Battleship Izmail. The map is Land of Fire, and the build is on the screen. So, similar to other Soviet battleships, it has a limited damage control charge. It does look like, at least on the model, that the number 3 gun turret has a catapult on it, but there's no way to equip an aircraft on it. Now, one of the discrepancies between this ship and the other Soviet battleships is the turret traverse. 60 seconds to go 180 degrees is incredibly frustrating compared to the 30 seconds that tiers 8, 9, and 10 allow you to experience. So it's definitely something you sort of have to equip a special unique commander for, because if you don't, your guns will traverse slower than quite literally any other battleship in the game. I think at one point Yamato or Warspite took the cake, but I think both of those ships have received slight buffs in their turret traverse over the time. Izmail, obviously, first version. Now, the range of the guns is 17 kilometers, and obviously the concealment is not much better. That is one of the issues with the Soviet battleships. They just don't have the range to really engage, and we are bottom tier. We're a tier 6 and a tier 8 match, but as you'll see, that's not really a big deal. Now, there are no enemy DDs on either side, so pretty much every objective is going to be pretty mediocre to try and capture. I'm just trying to move with my teammates towards A point and see if we can find an enemy that is out in the open. There was a Tirpitz that did look like he wanted to flash from the east side to the west side, and there's an Atlanta that's camping behind the island, but I don't really have a shot on that. Now, the armor scheme for this is 25 millimeters. It's got pretty much 25 millimeters all the way around, with the waterline being the exception, and that's going to be a typical Soviet battleship trait. They have excess armor near the waterline all the way around. So when you're firing on these guys, you really want to aim at the top of the hull, ideally. And we got enemy aircraft coming. All I'm trying to do is keep my priority sector facing towards the enemy and see how well our AA works out. And honestly, our AA works out pretty well. I think the Soviet battleship's AA is above average. In certain tiers, it's the best in class just by the nature of the stats. Izmail, you know, it's there. I notice it. It does a good job, an appropriate job. It's not, preventing it from ever doing a drop. It's just preventing it from doing a lot of drops. But I got a shot on the enemy Tirpitz. I'm going to definitely fire. Because of the nature of the turret traverse, you're going to try and want to limit the time that you are traversing the guns. This is very similar to something like the Nicholas, or even the October Revolution with their gun systems. You know, that 4-gun turret, 3 guns per gun turret. They're not all facing forward, so it's not a convenient, bow tank where you go port to starboard. They basically rotate back. So every time you're moving forward, you have to deal with the fact that the turrets want to rotate the opposite way in order to get in position for you. So really limit the number of times you're switching these guns. But the accuracy is pretty outstanding, especially once you get close enough that you start feeling the accuracy benefit. Miss a little bit with that location, but that's okay. Still have incoming enemy aircraft, and of course I am still going to commit to having my AA do as much damage as possible to them. There is a limited superstructure setup on this, but with the low armor numbers of 25, if he hits anything but the guns, he's going to basically pen. Now, I got this enemy Atlanta, broadside, and of course I want to punish it. And I think we'll be able to do it just because of this distance and the number of guns. And yeah, we find the Citadel absolutely wonderful. And is able to mitigate incoming damage. Does the Nagato or the Tirpitz want to fire on me? There's also a Fuso, the enemy Bayern. Don't really know. One enemy does try to fire on our position, and I will try and return fire. Unfortunately, the island's in the way, so we're going to rotate back, and we're going to angle our guns forward-facing. Now, I don't really have an issue with Izmail. It's the tier 6. just like all the other previous tiers, it has the same function, the features that you're looking forward to. The accuracy is definitely something that a skilled player, if they can get in range to take advantage of, will benefit from always. I mean, pretty much averaging 8, 9, 10,000 per salvo, regardless of Citadel or not. That's pretty good at tier 6. That's pretty good against tier 8s, and I don't really see any issue here. I think I'm going to have just the perfect amount of enemies firing on my position and my gun reload. So obviously, enemy Nagato, only target in vision. I'm firing my guns on cooldown. We've got a little bit of an angle. We get 4 overpen, unfortunately, and obviously he wants to return fire. And as long as I have good angling, it is going to be really difficult for him to get into the Citadel. I can't prevent him from doing damage because I just don't have the armor. But I can try and prevent the Citadels, and so far, so good. The friendly teams are pushing up on the east side quite fine. Enemy Fuso, he's almost in range. I just need to rotate around the island so it's not blocking quite as many shots. But, you know, just like the Tier 4 and the Tier 5 premium Soviet battleships that they've had, this feels great. The amount of guns, the broadside nature of it, we didn't get the kill. He actually burned down from a friendly rootin' tootin' Vladimir Putin with his fire. We contributed, at least. This Nagato is having second thoughts of rotating around the western side. And I'm having second thoughts of rotating around the western side as well. Do I really need to do that? Or do I pause and sort of get in between the Nagato and my team and maybe blap him out of existence? Don't really know what I want to do. I'm pretty confident that if I do rotate around, I will have a pretty good shot on multiple targets. So I think that's what I want to do. Plus, I was speaking to my division mate, and Mito in the Grafsp, he's got torps, and he's going to try and hold him on the corner. And he even said that, yeah, the way the Nagato, of course, another dot ticks just as the last little bit of alpha damage from torps hit. He was sending the torpedoes, and the way the Nagato was sailing around, he had paused too long, and it allowed the torpedoes to be right on target. So that's how that ended for him, unfortunately. Unfortunately for the Shores, he gets one shot by myself and a friendly. I think the Hood landed a big salvo. We get a Citadel. Of course, he's gone. And we're still pushing forward. Still pushing forward rapidly. We've got the Bayern, the New Mexico. We've got an escaping enemy battleship as well. The Tirpitz. I think I want to go after the Bayern. So, you know, elevate my guns, top of the hull. The velocity of the guns works in a way that, you know, if you do that, honestly, the position's always perfect. This is just like the American guns. If you've ever played the American battleship guns, you definitely notice their shell arc is very useful at pretty much every range. Because it dives down, it wants to go into the superstructure and stick in the ship. That really feels great on the Soviets, and it just continues to feel great. Every single tier that I have played has been a real treat. And I don't know that it's necessarily balanced. See what I'm saying? Even when I aim for the superstructure on a angled target, I have enough gun velocity that it dives down, and it's not going so straight that it's going to, you know, slam into the gun turrets or something to block it. But, you know, overall for the Soviet battleships, I've had great success on quite literally every single tier. I don't have Tier 3 or Tier 4, no CC or Super has that. But Tier 5, Tier 6, Tier 7, Tier 8, Premium Tier 8, Tier 9, and Tier 10, I've had at least 100,000, at least 3 or 4 kills at each tier, and at least consistent accuracy. All of those coupled together, it really works in the favor of the player. If he's able to aim consistently and accurately, the Soviet guns absolutely hold up. Now that Baltimore, able to avoid the final shot. Enemy Ranger's honestly stationary and slow, and he's lost probably a third of his life, and I wanted to punish that further. So I'm just going to fire on him. 2 aircraft carrier are annoying. And because my team has grouped up so well, they haven't really been persistent on this flank. Ooh, 17,000. We find the Citadel. Multiple enemies super low. That enemy New Mexico. Looks like the Mogami wants to finish him off. I can respect that, Mogami. If you can finish the New Mexico off, I can finish off the enemy Ranger. It's one less target that has to be dealt with. And friendly Wichita gets bombed out of existence from the Shokaku. I wish I could kill the Shokaku as well. I think this should be enough. We don't really get the kind of dispersion I want, but it doesn't matter. There's plenty of guns on the target, and game's basically over. You know, we were able to push, maintain good accuracy, kept my guns pointed inward. Very similar playstyle to something like the Yamato. Because of the old turret traverse, a lot of times you would try and be on the outside of one of the fringes and always have your guns pointed inward and not have to traverse too much. And if you could do that, it sort of hid the weak part of the ship, which is the turret traversal. Same thing for the Izmail. Every game that I have been able to keep all my enemies on one side of the ship, I am incredibly dominant. But the moment I am actively maneuvering, similar to maybe the higher tier Soviet battleships, things start to fall apart. You know, it's a good ship, but it's an awkwardly designed ship in the way the guns rotate and the superstructure blocking some angles. You get the idea. You understand what's going on. We land another big salvo against the Shokaku. 4-pin, 4-over-pin. I mean, that's a really great grouping. And that's how these ships feel. They just feel like a pleasure to play. And nope, still alive. I'm hoping that I can finish him off with this last salvo. He did send aircraft to try and maybe do a little bit of chip damage. But if we aim appropriately, we should be able to keep him from escaping. And is it going to tick over? We do damage, but I don't think we killed him. I need to elevate the gun slightly more than that. But, you know, regardless, we won the game. The ship performed appropriately, fantastically, and it's consistent in its accuracy, positioning, gun systems. Everything feels great on it. And, you know, maybe it feels too good because that was pretty easy as a Tier 6 and a Tier 8 game. Tell me what you think. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.